I know. Just hold it in. We will 110% get there, and it's all I want to talk about too. But let's go through the chapter as quickly as we can so we can all gush over the return of our beloved Turbo Granny. This chapter of DanDaDan picks up exactly where we left off with the defeat of the mummy alien. And I just want to get it out of the way and say that I really do appreciate the fact that this mummy was an actual space whale that was hiding inside of its old ancient body that it came to Earth with probably thousands of years ago, because aliens don't normally work with spirits of any kind. So the idea that this Keraton mummy was working alongside the Serpoans and doing what it could to get a victory for the Serpoans felt very, very weird. But with the reveal that it was just this giant space whale that was contracted by the Serpoans, as normal Serpoan work goes, they could give less of a crap about the employees that they contract. The moment that the whale is burst out of the mummy body and it's revealed that its body, similar to the Kur's, is unable to handle Earth's gravity and it just is going to get crushed, it actually just completely explodes out into the open, which thank God this is empty space, or that would be one heck of a cleanup crew required for that. And I'm also very happy that we didn't spend another 2 to 3 chapters having Okarun and Momo fight against this gigantic space whale, because I'll be honest, I started feeling the very moment that it appeared very similar vibes towards the Human Typhoon arc, in which that, sure, I'm 110% completely fine with us going into a whole random spontaneous conflict with a enormous space whale, but it seems like a good 9 out of 10 people in the community might not be. So I think Yukinobu Tatsu learned his lesson from that previous Typhoon arc and was like, you know what, it's a giant space whale, but it's not going to be a fight that we need to fight, even though it seems like Okarun and Momo would have been more than prepared for it. Because now that Okarun is fully keyed in on how to use the Ogre Club, and on top of that, he has Momo with him that, despite not really having full control over her chi and psychic abilities, she has all of that downloaded experience and keeps all of the levels of the grinding that they have been doing across the entire DanDaDan series. Because the moment she goes to power him up, it becomes a giant Cloud Strife Buster Sword that he whips up into the air, and at first I thought he quite literally was going to slice this whale in half, but they are just basically panicking and freaking out while this space whale takes its last breaths, because as mentioned before, once the Serpoans realize that the whale has been forced out of its body, then it is going to be exploded underneath the mass gravity of Earth, and they just start running to the high heavens, admitting that they failed yet again, which at this point, I think we can completely count out the Serpoans as an actual threat, considering the fact that they have now been beaten not just multiple times on end, but they were just beaten by Okarun and Momo, who have absolutely no powers whatsoever. Sure, I guess you could argue that the Space Cur, the jet booster suit, showed up to help them with the outnumbered odds, but either way, this is a huge W for Momo and Okarun, not just in the idea of physical battles, because even Okarun says it, while Okarun was the muscle, he was the one wielding the Ogre Club and was able to slash through and fight the mummy physical hand to hand. We had Momo, who, despite not having any of her psychic powers, shows that she's more than just that. She has the intelligence, she has the strategy, and she has the confidence to do things and think of opportunities for people to take in battle that most people will not even consider. Which, like I said last video, goes completely into the awesome parallel of the very beginning of the series and just shows how far both of these main characters have come and how much they've grown, and how even without Turbo Granny and psychic abilities, they are a force to be reckoned with, and the Serpoans have no chance in hell of stopping what they have inadvertently created. This video is sponsored by GamerSupps, the ultimate energy and focus formula. Use my code NOOP now for 10% off, and thank you GamerSupps for sponsoring the channel. And all of that leads to this very nice, wholesome scene between Okarun and Momo, who Momo having complete amnesia that has not been cured yet. Even though I was expecting like a Ken Takakura name drop to show up in this battle, and that may help Momo understand the kind of importance that Okarun has for her life, they didn't even need something like that, which I think actually works so much better. Because when you have Okarun piggyback carrying Momo here as they make their way back home, and Momo reveals that despite every evidence to the contrary, she believes him on aliens existing. I mean, I say that, but they literally just got attacked by multiple space aliens all at once. But either way, the admission of Okarun being right and her believing what Okarun says is her realizing that her memories are lost, but that feeling for Okarun that she has, all of the memories that she can't recall but that Gigi said are so important to her, even though none of that is inside of her brain, even though she can't recall any of it. Just watching Okarun put his life on the line for her and do everything that he possibly could to protect her, even being willing to admit he may not be the best possible person for her and that Gigi might be better off saving her. She now knows that whatever goes on, she is with the person that she needs to be with. Even though it is clearly a romantic level, it's also on so many different levels on top of that. That this girl who is just a complete amnesiac, no memory having person that is essentially defenseless and powerless in this chaotic situation they find themselves in, even though she doesn't even really know who Okarun is and he might as well be a stranger to her, the comfort and safety that she feels with him overrides everything else. And I've got to say, that is a very earned thing that has happened. And just seeing Okarun perform the way he did in this quick battle with the Serpoans shows that when he stated that he believed he was confident enough and he believed that he was strong enough and has grown enough to be the one to reach out to Momo Ayase first, he proved it in this moment. Because Momo wasn't the one that came around, pitied Okarun, and ended up just believing him because she felt like she had to. Okarun proved in his own way that he was not only integral to her life, but that she should just believe everything he says and she should trust him, because that connection that they have can never fade away. And now that I have just absolutely yapped to no end about the relationship between Momo and Okarun, which was the absolute highlight of this big battle that we just had, the chapter ends on one of the most tear-wrenching, just brought a smile to my face almost instant. I absolutely gotta say, the end to this chapter is just a beautiful thing, seeing that Turbo Granny has returned on her own. Not to help Okarun and Momo or come to save everybody in their moment of need, but after apparently exploring the world, checking it out for all of this delicious food, and being allowed on her own to just be free and explore, Turbo Granny of her own volition returns to Seiko's hospital bedside. And when she wakes up and she looks down, both of them play it very casually, right? Because we know even when Turbo Granny left, Momo was like, she doesn't want to admit it, but Seiko misses Turbo Granny. It's clear that that feeling was mutual. And I gotta say, tears in my eyes. I'm so happy to have Turbo Granny back. All is right in the world, especially with this chapter bringing Momo and Okarun back together in, not completely, but in some ways, just enough for me to feel like we have been making progress on this amnesia thing. But I've gotta say, I've been proven wrong in DanDaDan multiple times before. Be that as it may, take this with a grain of salt. With all of these good things happening, we've got Momo and Okarun coming back together in a way, we've got Turbo Granny returning to Seiko's bedside. I'm a little worried for what this next half of the story is going to provide for us, because now that this Momo and Okarun segment is over, even though we have not cured Momo's amnesia completely, I'm very curious to see where we go from here. The Serpoans have failed to try and keep Momo away from Count Saint Germain. And if anything, the crime prevention whistle actually working and summoning the space cur just brought Momo a little bit closer to Count Saint Germain's grasp. Now, she still doesn't trust him whatsoever, but I do think it's important to note that if we were keeping score, this was definitely a victory for Count Saint Germain and his faction. What is Count Saint Germain's next move? I really couldn't even begin to tell you. But that's the beauty of DanDaDan, is that it is so unpredictable and we never know what the heck is gonna go on in it. But guys, if you enjoyed this chapter review, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel way more than you know. Hit the hype button as well if you love the return of Turbo Granny. Subscribe so you don't miss any future DanDaDan reviews or any just future reviews in general for any weekly manga that you may read. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.